This is the Farmers Union Insurance Bison Football Pregame Show.
Hello and welcome into the Farmers Union Insurance Bison Football Pregame Show. I am Alex Egan. She is Beth Hool. We are getting you set for some November football. Welcome to the 11th month of the season. This is when we get down to the nitty-gritty. 3 weeks left in the regular season in the FCS.
Yeah, everybody's already starting to talk about that playoff picture, getting excited for what's to come. I've been excited about what's to come for a long time. This stretch of the season, when you looked at it on the schedule, you feel like you kind of got through that gauntlet there early in October, and now, you know, let's get to playoffs.
Get to the playoffs. That's what we want to do. Speaking of the playoff picture, the NCAA FCS Selection Committee came out with their top 10 rankings. They've done this the past couple of years. This is
Changed
something
it
that
every year.
Yeah, they're only doing one this year. So this is the one snapshot that on Wednesday, when these were released, if the playoffs were to start, this is how the playoff committee would have seeded these teams. They only did the top 10. Of course, only the top 8 get seeds, but you look at it there, there's a couple Missouri Valley teams, a couple Big Sky teams, a couple CAA teams. Beth, your thoughts?
I just couldn't get excited about this. Like, they put NDSU, if they hadn't put NDSU up top, if they weren't number one, I could understand. Like, I just understand why we're talking about it. Like, obviously the Bison are number one right now. They're where they should be.
Yes, but it's for the rest of the country to see kind of where they're
to remind the rest of the country that the Bison are really good.
Yes, that's kind of the idea. But do you remember a couple of years ago when they first did this and the first rankings came out and NDSU was like 4th in the rankings?
Well, because they did it terribly. Yes, I was very upset about that. I agree with you there. And that's what I mean. Like, they're getting it right. They figured it out. They've got their sea legs under them. It's all right. Bison are number one.
So that is if the playoffs were to start again on Wednesday before this week's action. That is how the playoff committee would seed things. Wofford the 8, South Dakota State the 7. So you would be looking at an NDSU.
But right now, James
Wofford.
Madison not looking so good.
Yeah, James Madison,
which is bad news for the Bison. You do not want them on your side of the bracket.
No, you really don't.
I don't care how they're playing today. I don't trust that. I do not want James Madison on the same side of the bracket as the Bison.
Still, all that will be decided over the course of the next 3 weeks. And, of course, the selection show on November 18th this year at 11:30. We'll obviously be talking about that as we go along. It is November. It is back to the Dome for the Bison after picking up a road win at South Dakota last week, and they host Youngstown State this week. We go out to the Dome, and Ryan Gellner standing by. Ryan, happy Football Saturday to you.
Hi guys, it is Youngstown State today, and Youngstown State might be one of the most disappointing football teams in the FCS. They were ranked 4th coming into the season here in the conference, in the Missouri Valley Football Conference, and ranked 25th in the FCS poll overall, and they have disappointed, guys. At 3-5 overall, fresh off a whooping at home to Indiana State. You heard probably some of Bo Pelini's comments about this football team. He called them a bad football team when he opened his press conference after the football game last week, that loss to Indiana State, and then he later called his offense a collection of garbage. That's where Youngstown football is right now. So today, when you look at Youngstown State, it goes one of 2 different ways. Number one, they could play for their football coach and come up with a gutty performance today. Or number 2, and maybe even a more likely scenario, is they could give their coach a sign that, well, a sign that I just can't do on TV and say, that's for you, coach. And we'll see which Youngstown State football team shows up. But for me today, guys, it's not so much about North Dakota State. It's about what has become a little bit of a mess for Youngstown State.
All right, thank you very much, Ryan. We'll be checking in with you and the rest of our crew out there at the Dome throughout the rest of the show.
That's really what we've been talking about. Our entire team all week long has been kind of touching on the fact that this game is a lot less about NDSU and a lot more about Youngstown State when it comes to the conversation leading into this one. Ryan sharing some of the nicer comments that Bo Pelini had to say about his team. I mean, in all honesty, that's the kind of stuff. I went to school at Nebraska. I was there while Bo Pelini was there. You covered Nebraska while Bo Pelini was there. I mean, we're familiar with some of his antics and what he does. I will say, in terms of the players' reaction, he's a player's coach.
Absolutely.
You talk to the guys that play for his teams, not the guys that sit on the bench, the guys who play for his teams, and they love Bo Pelini. And I think there is some of it that he's got to come out. He has to say those things. They played poorly.
They did not play well against Indiana State last
week.
And
it was Indiana State, which is the team that you naturally think of in the Missouri Valley Football Conference as the team you should get a win against. Bison fans will remember the 0-3 loss to Indiana State. How upset were you?
Yeah.
So, you know, it's natural to kind of have that reaction. I think he's right, though. It kind of comes down to which Youngstown State do you get today. But I promise you the Bison are not allowing that thought to come into their head. They can't. They cannot expect Youngstown State to pack it in.
It was a 43-17 loss in which they were the Penguins were outscored 40 to whatever over the last 2.5 quarters of the game. So it was not a great performance. Bo Pelini said there was no energy, no enthusiasm.
And there
so
wasn't.
We'll see what they
His comments were all fair.
Yeah, absolutely, they were fair. They were very fair. Okay, let's get into a discussion about Easton Stick.
Yes.
Easton Stick has obviously etched his way into the record books for the Bison as a program. Here are some of the accomplishments that Easton has. He was the 2018 NCAA Championship Game Most Outstanding Player, 2018 All-State AFCA Good Works Team. He is a Campbell Trophy finalist. That was announced this week. That's an $18,000 postgraduate scholarship. He's a Walter Payton Award nominee given to the best FCS player. He passed Brock Jensen for touchdown passes in the game against South Dakota last week, and he's got several more records ready to be broken. So we talked to Easton a little bit about breaking the record, about what he did and how he reflected on it immediately after the game. He said all the right things, as you would expect Easton Stick to do. He's a smart kid. But Easton Stick has never really gotten the national pub, the national love that he should, because he's the quarterback at North Dakota State where they run the football.
And he's taking over for Carson Wentz, who has obviously garnered the attention he deserves. But when you're the guy stepping in for Carson, the expectations are extremely high. And Easton has continued to wear that proudly and continued to perform under that pressure. And now he's starting to cement himself and get some of that national recognition. And I think one of the most valuable things to note about the acknowledgments that Easton Stick is getting right now, well, a lot of them are for his outstanding accomplishments on the football field. So many more of them are about what he's doing off the football field. And that cannot be ignored. That's important. And that's an important factor when you're talking about his future. NFL teams look at that. They want to know the kind of person you are and your character, and Easton Stick is just checking all of those boxes.
Easton was able to take a moment and reflect on the record breaker last week.
Yeah, breaking Brock Jensen's record, and now they never played together.
Right.
But he's gotten to learn from Brock a little bit. There's that brotherhood that is Bison football. And Easton said after the game on our post-game show that he absolutely knows Brock and has gotten to know Brock and learn from him a little bit. And so, yeah, I asked him because, you know, Easton's so quick to always say, you know, they're on to the next game. They're focusing on all these other things. But this was a monumental moment. He put his name forever at the top of a rock roll until, you know, the next Easton Stick comes around. But he's put himself down as the #1 quarterback in a category for NDSU, and that is an incredible accomplishment. He finally said he did take a moment.
Yeah, he did. He took a moment on the bus trip back. Let's hear from Easton.
Got texts and different calls from different people and from old teammates and stuff, and from Brock. Brock reached out, and so that stuff's pretty cool. Just reflect a little bit on, you know, how far I've come in 4 years, and you know, it's special. Obviously, Brock was an unbelievable player. I got to play with Carson. You know, there's been some really good players at my position here, and so just feel really fortunate to be you know, one of those guys.
So on the record books for some Bison quarterbacks, you're looking at a Steve Walker, Brock Jensen, Carson Wentz. Name not really up there.
Well,
he only played a season and a half.
Yeah,
really.
a season and a half. When you
got?
said that this week, that I forgot the whole injury and everything. You think of his impact on this program and the impact he's still making on it. And you're, oh yeah, he played a season and a half.
Season and a half, and that half season that he missed, Easton Stick, all he did was come in, go 8-0, and lead the Bison to a national championship game, and then Carson rode in on the cavalry down there in Frisco and won the game that year. But Kevin Feeney's also on this list. Jeff Bentrum's on some of the lists that Easton will break, if everything goes to plan. He will break the touchdowns responsible for record that Brock Jensen has.
But the fun one.
But the very fun one is the wins record that Brock Jensen has.
The all-time wins record for a Bison quarterback. In order for Easton to get it, the Bison need to win out.
So he's 42-3 as a starter, Easton is, and he needs to get to Brock's number. The Bison need to not only win the rest of the regular season, they need to win in the playoffs as well, win the national title game, go undefeated basically.
Which is such a cool storyline.
Yeah.
Now, I would never mention this to Easton. I will never mention these numbers to him because he can't. That's just not where his head is.
Right, but the funny thing is, everybody talks about Easton and his accomplishments and what he can do with the football and leading a team, but it's the winning that has caught a lot of people's attention, including a guy we've already been talking about, Bo Pelini, who was asked about Easton's stick this week. Let's hear what Bo had to say about Easton.
That young man is a winner, a competitor, can do everything that you want a quarterback to do. And I don't watch a lot of NFL football, but I watch enough that says, I see some guys out there that I'm saying, Easton, I'll put stick up against some of those guys.
That is some good praise because Bo Pelini has coached a lot of NFL players at Nebraska, at stops at LSU,
yeah.
Even at Youngstown. He's coached a lot of maybe not quarterbacks that have gone on to win, but
yeah, he's not a big quarterback fan.
Right.
So for
he's
him,
a defensive guy.
Yeah, and he's openly not a quarterback guy. And so for him to give that praise, and these two have kind of crossed paths a little bit over the years. Easton telling us this week that he knew Bo from going to the Nebraska camps. So obviously, Easton was in high school in Omaha when Bo was at Nebraska, and so they've kind of crossed paths. Never really recruited, never really anything. And Easton saying they don't really talk ever. It's just, a nice, good game after the game and everything. But he said he did see those comments, and it was cool to see and hear from him.
That's awesome. To hear what the opposing coach thinks of your starting quarterback, that's pretty awesome.
In a press conference where he probably didn't want to talk about NDSU all that much.
Probably still a little upset from Saturday.
Absolutely, yeah. So really cool to hear him.
So maybe he was ready to talk about somebody other than his team.
I guess, yeah. Who knows?
We're going to step aside when we come back. We'll learn a little bit more about the Penguins. And you mentioned Bo's not a quarterback guy. Quarterback controversy brewing in Youngstown or with
Once
Youngstown.
Again.
Yeah, that's still to come here on the Farmers Union Insurance Bison Football Pregame Show. The Farmers Union Insurance Bison Football Pregame Show rolls on. There is a look at the Youngstown State Penguins getting into the Fargo Dome. They are going into a pretty unfriendly environment, especially when you consider it as the Harvest Bowl. The Harvest helmets are out. The new yellow uniforms are out for
all of those
Bison.
Things that get me so fired up for a football game.
Get me fired up. I'm into the aesthetics of
I
sports.
know.
I could throw out a ton of numbers at you about the uniform combos, but all you need to know is NDSU has not lost in the green helmet. They have not lost in the yellow tops. 27-0 in those yellow tops.
So you will throw a number out.
I'm going to throw one number at you. All right.
I will say I enjoyed last week's throwback.
Yeah, the throwback, the Bison for the first time since 04.
And even more so that was the players who chose it. Who said they've seen the old video and they wanted to do it. I love that.
Wanted to honor the old NCC days. Yes, you do. Yes. Holy cow. More on that later.
You like aesthetics. I like nostalgia.
There we go. Yeah. Let's go back out to the Fargo Dome. Ryan Gellner standing by with the voice of the Penguins.
Thank you, guys. Bob Hannon, the longtime play-by-play voice at Youngstown State and one of the good guys in the business. What a crazy week it had to be for you after Bo Pelini's press conference after the last game. Things are a little bit weird, I think you could say, in Youngstown.
Right, it's a crazy season. Coach Pelini came in August and said, we're really going to be good. We're going to be a playoff team when we lose to Butler. And I don't think that cloud has ever escaped this team. It's been a tough year. I mean, turnovers have been a part of it. We don't create turnovers. We've turned the football over. And I've been doing this 30 years. Most puzzling season I've ever had with Youngstown State football.
I have to ask you this because North Dakota State fans that haven't been around Bo Pelini don't really know what Bo Pelini is other than what they see with the blow-ups on the sidelines, those press conferences. What's he like as a play-by-play guy? What's it like to work with a head coach that is a little bit fiery?
Yeah, he's fiery and he can be volatile. It's challenging. I think Bo likes to coach. What I mean by that, game day and practice, media, boosters, raising money, not his favorite thing. We have a good relationship. He doesn't give you a lot with the soundbite. I think his biggest frustration, you say what he's like to work with, I think he feels his team's not giving maximum effort. And Bo Pelini always gives 100%, and he can't figure out why he can't get his guys on game day to play with emotion and passion. And we've been flat a lot this year. If we're flat today, we're going to get run over.
A lot of his criticism was at the offense last week, and that, of course, goes back to the quarterback. What do you think we'll see at quarterback from your team today?
At least 2, maybe 3. I think Nate Mays will get his first start. Nate's more of a runner than a thrower. Van Gorder played well early, and then all of a sudden turnovers. He had 6 turnovers in a 3-game span in the league. Might even say a young guy, Joe Craycraft. But I think for the most part it'll be Mays and Van Gorder. But the key is they're going to have to run the ball. We have a really good running back at Tevin McMaster. If he can run it, they may have a chance to be competitive. If Youngstown State can't run the ball today, it's going to be a long day.
And McMaster is phenomenal, by the way. He is a fun one to watch. The playoffs, probably not going to happen this year. I don't think mathematically you could make it happen. So with a team that's now got some question marks as far as heart, what do you expect today?
I think today will be their best effort because they're playing North Dakota State, #1 in the country. I think it's easy to get your attention. If we were playing someone today in the bottom half of the league, I think it'd be challenging to get them up. I think they'll give good effort today. I think they'll play well. You mentioned McMaster. I think James Robinson, Bruce Anderson, you know, Tevin's right there with all those guys. So we have to take advantage of his skill set. But I do think you'll see a good effort out of the Penguins today.
Bob, always honest. We appreciate that, and always fun to talk to you. Have a great call today.
Thanks. Good to see you.
All right, guys, back to you.
Love Bob.
Yeah, Bob's great, isn't he? Bob telling us there, you know, the issue comes down to turnovers. It comes down to we're turning the ball over. We're not creating turnovers.
Yeah, 113th nationally in turnover margin this season.
That's not good. That's out of 124. 113th they are.
Really not good.
For comparison, the Bison are 4th in turnover margin, +11, +12, somewhere in that range.
Yeah,
And,
just getting better every week.
Yeah, and they keep adding to that number, not turning the ball over and creating those turnovers.
So much that Bob said there, though, about it's so much great insight into this team and the fact that Bo's frustrated because this team isn't giving 100%. I mean, it's understandable at this point in the season when you look at their schedule. I mean, even just looking at their schedule, don't look at a single snap, don't look at any of the football. When you look at their schedule and what they've done, it's been win, loss, win, loss, win, loss. They just can't seem to find that momentum, that gear, any consistency out there. And then, of course, when you're talking quarterbacks, that's a rough life in Youngstown, Ohio, to be a quarterback. And it certainly hasn't gotten any easier this season.
So we could see Nathan Mays, who the Bison are familiar with. We saw him last year.
Who was replaced this year.
Yeah, by Van Gorder. Montgomery Van Gorder was a Notre Dame transfer, came in, won the job, has thrown the ball well. Let's be real.
And he's run the ball as well.
Yeah, he's been pretty effective as a quarterback for Youngstown, but
he runs the ball and he gets hit a lot.
Yeah.
He runs the ball and he gets hit a lot. And we are now into November. That's a lot of contact. That's tough on a quarterback. You always hear the Bison talk about they want to use Easton in that run game, but you can't use him too much. There's a lot of season left. You got to use that sparingly. And that's coming from a team who has a 2,000-yard rushing quarterback this season.
Right. Who has a chance to break the Missouri Valley Football Conference all-time rushing yards record.
Another one. Add it up.
NDSU.
Yeah. I'm really interested to see what we get from this Youngstown State team, though. I heard from one of my friends who works in the Youngstown market that he thinks they're packing it in.
Wow.
He thinks they're done. But I don't buy that just because that makes me nervous. I just can't buy into that mindset because Youngstown State and NDSU football always play good football games. They are such good games. They're so much fun to watch. If you're a football fan, these are typically fun ones. Yeah. The former Bison football players tell you that this is a fun game. This is one of the ones you really get up for, especially since Bo has taken over and put his stamp on this team. But it sounds like this year maybe doesn't actually have that stamp.
We've spent a lot of time talking about quarterbacks today, the Bison quarterbacks, the YSU quarterbacks. I'm going to do what we call a tease in the business. You're going to want to stick around through the pregame show because we have a quarterback that a lot of people would be interested in hearing from. That's all I'm going to tell you. That's all I'm going to tell you.
I can't. Okay.
His name may or may not rhyme with Smock Menson. That's all I'm going to give you. That's all I'm going to give you. Let's go out to the tailgate lot. Mike Morgan standing by. Mike.
All right, thank you so much. We are in the northwest corner of the tailgate area, and the reason we came out here was because it's not really that windy. You guys battle the elements sometime, don't you?
Pretty tough.
Well, now we're going to battle the Bison Trivia, and I've got 2 contestants with me, and first off, we're going to start out with who?
Tammy.
Tammy, are you ready to go with Bison Trivia?
I think so.
You know, you told me earlier you're a little nervous.
I am.
No one has gotten this wrong since we started this.
Exactly why I'm nervous.
All right, well, we're playing for 2 $50 gift cards, one from the True Blue, and we're also going from Lucky 13s, okay? All right, here we go. Question number 1. Who's in charge of the offensive quality control for the NDSU Bison? Who's in charge of the offensive quality control for the NDSU Bison? I'm going to give you two answers.
Okay.
Is it Ben Klinger or Max Klinger? Ben Klinger or Max Klinger? And you can get some help.
Max Klinger.
Oh, wait, whoa, wait, what?
Ben
Okay.
Klinger. I meant
What?
Ben Klinger.
Ben Klinger.
Yes.
Do you guys know who Max Klinger is? Who's Max Klinger?
He's on MASH.
He's on MASH. So you don't want to go with Max Klinger,
No,
do you?
I want.
Okay. Well, it's good you said Ben Klinger because that's the correct answer. Is Ben Klinger. Congratulations. Yay! You win a $50 gift card to the True Blue Social Club. That was easy. All right. Okay. All right. Here we go. Question number 2. And your name is?
Mike.
All right, Mike. She almost blew it.
Yeah. She had a lot of help back
She
there.
had a lot of help. Well, so do you. Here we go. Who is the cornerbacks coach for the NDSU Bison? Is it Cody Morgan or Harry Morgan?
It's Cody Morgan.
Cody Morgan. No, not Mike Morgan. No.
Mash theme, I
It's a
see.
mash theme. Very good. And you're correct. He's correct. It's Cody Morgan, so nobody cheers for you, I guess. There we go. Congratulations, you win a $50 gift card to Lucky's 13.
Thank you, and they're not getting any of it.
They're not getting any of it. Well, there you go. That's our first round of Bison Tailgate Trivia. We'll be back with more right after this.
All right, thank you very much, Mike. We will come back more of the Farmers Union Insurance Bison Football pregame show right after this.
Audible. Audible. Audible.
Audible.
Attaboy. Play action pass. Play action pass. Play action pass. Play action pass.
Play.
Action.
Action pass.
Blitz. 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 Blitz.
Blitz.
Fargo. Fargo. Fargo.
Fargo.
Missouri Valley. Oh my gosh. All right, take him off. That was so. Take him off. That was bad.
Bro, you were talking so slow.
Yeah, because you're terrible. You can't read. How do you read an offense?
Why'd you say audible?
Audible.
You were saying audio.
Because I wanted him to read. I can't get my mouth going.
Bro, you know what? You messed it all up.
I messed it up. It's my fault.
It is.
We should have switched.
Well, we probably should have.
That might be the most intense I've ever seen Greg stare at somebody.
You've clearly never played
I have not lined
an
up against him.
offensive
I have
line
not lined up
against
against him. Yeah, let's go out to the dome. Ryan Gellner standing by with our Sanford Orthopedic
New
Sports
segment.
Medicine Injury Report.
Hi again, guys. Welcome down to the field. Dr. Bruce Pyatt is with us. And Bruce, the last couple of weeks we have seen more and more players, it seems like, cramping, going down on the field, needing to get stretched out and get those cramps worked out. What's going on?
Well, you know, it's a common problem in any athletics. There's a couple theories about what's going on. Probably the two that have the highest ability to explain it are looking at either a dehydration and electrolyte depletion kind of thing, or something going on at what we talk about the neuromuscular level of the muscle, meaning that right at that junction where the nerve innervates the muscle, something occurs during fatigue that leaves that prone for the muscle to spasm. So what is happening is whatever's causing it, we're seeing that the athlete's muscle goes into this extreme spasm, or what we call tetany. And when that happens, it's very painful. If you've ever had one, you all know it's very, very uncomfortable. It's usually something that you can break right away. If you just put a stretch on the muscle, that breaks that neuromuscular connection enough to where it goes back and relaxes. The question is whether it's going to return right away when you stop the stretch, though.
Every week lately, I've asked Dr. Pyatt to bring out a prop. And so what kind of a prop do you bring out for, well, when you're cramping? He brought a banana. This is all about prevention.
I thought this was to feed you, but anyways, we do whatever we can to try to prevent these type of things from happening. So we're going to do a lot of things. We've looked at our athletes, we've studied their sweat, see exactly who are those athletes that are going to be sweating more electrolytes out than the other ones, and so we have different combinations of what we'll replenish them with. So a lot of people are going to be getting kind of natural foods like the banana that has a lot of electrolytes and things and potassium in it in particular that will help us. But also we're going to be doing things where we add extra salt, extra electrolytes to their Gatorade compounds, or we'll know if all they really need is the water and fluid concentration to bring them back to kind of where they're at.
Do you want the banana back, or?
That's for you. It's a gift.
It's a gift that keeps on giving. Appreciate the insight, and it is a serious topic, and stretching helps. Those sorts of things help. It's all about preventing if you can, and if you get that cramp, you got to stretch it out, got to get it work done.
Absolutely. That's the key to kind of get them, kind of calm down at the moment so we can get them back on the field, but it's really preventative leading up to it in the week before.
Lunchtime, guys. Back to you.
All right, thanks, Ryan. Bring that banana back with you if you could. That'd be nice. Take a look at the injury report today. We have Bruce Anderson is questionable with a leg. He is dressed, but he is really doubtful. Jalen Allison got injured last week against South Dakota. He is out this week. And
Bruce and Seth Wilson both dressed, participating in warm-up. Seth did that last week as well. They ended up putting him in street clothes.
Yeah,
and
didn't need him. Didn't need him against South Dakota.
Didn't need him, and just, you know, continuing to kind of play that guessing game and that waiting game
it's fun
with both of those guys.
But it's also a little fun for the other team to see, oh, those guys are out there.
Any chance you can make them prepare for more people, the better.
All right, let's take a look at our quarterbacks that we expect to be playing today. At least we know the one that's going to go for the Bison. That's Easton Stick. Here is a look at his numbers. 13 touchdowns, 2 interceptions on the season. He's got 9 rushing touchdowns. Quick math, that's 22 total touchdowns, 1 away from breaking the all-time record for quarterbacks at NDSU. Touchdowns responsible for. He's 1 away from tying Brock Jensen, 2 away from breaking the record. And Easton's been everything. I mean, we talked about him a lot there in the opening segment, but Easton's been everything that the Bison have needed.
And basically every week I continue to be more impressed with kind of, again, those boxes he's continuing to check as a quarterback, as an all-around quarterback.
Yeah, all right, let's take a look at who we expect to see from Youngstown State. This is Montgomery Van Gorder. He's been the starter for most of the season. We heard Bob Hannon say that we may or may not see Nathan Mays come in, or a third-string guy come in, because the offense has been a little bit stagnant for the Penguins over the last couple of weeks. Van Gorder throws it around a little bit. He's got over 1,600 passing yards, 7 interceptions to those 13 touchdowns.
He put himself in the Youngstown State record books last week, despite the terrible game even. So, I mean, he's certainly a good quarterback, and he's certainly put on a show, but obviously Joe Mays.
We knew we were going to do it.
We were going to do it. Ah, the Bison.
Nathan Mays.
Nathan Mays, the Youngstown State other quarterback. He's obviously who the Bison saw last year. They're a little bit more familiar with him. He's started getting involved in this offense, though, back during the South Dakota game. So 2 weeks ago for Youngstown State, he obviously showed up in the Indiana State game last week. So he's been getting his feet wet as this season has gone on.
Yeah, re-wet, if you will. This was him last year against the Bison. This was a game that the Bison won in overtime. And Mays played well in this game. He did everything that Youngstown State could have asked of him. But they just came up a little bit short there in the overtime frame. We're going to step aside. When we come back, we'll go out to the Dome, join our crew out there, and get you caught up as we get set for North Dakota State and Youngstown State. This is the Farmers Union Insurance Bison Football pregame show.
This is the Farmers Union Insurance Bison Football pregame show.
Back inside the Fargo Dome, North Dakota State and Youngstown State, along with Lee Timmerman, Brian Shaw. My name is Ryan Gellner. And guys, Youngstown State comes in with a lot of question marks. Your face says it all.
I tell you what, man, I have never seen a team in as much turmoil and as much disconnect between the head coach and the team as we have seen this week. And it was interesting listening to Jeremiah Braswell in his press conference, the wide receiver for Youngstown, respond to some of the questions he got from the media, saying, your coach doesn't think you're interested in playing football anymore, are you? And he said, yes, we're still interested, and we're going to go out there and try to prove him wrong. So now your team is trying to prove your head coach wrong, that you're not interested in quitting and playing football game. It's going to be a very interesting start here for the Penguins on this game today.
Well, I know we just saw a shot of Coach Pelini there. Just to throw this out there, he still is getting, I don't know why he's so mad. Today he's getting $4,208 from the University of Nebraska to not be there. That's how much he gets every day for 365 days a year, and that'll end in February, of course. But why is he so mad?
That's $150,000 a month.
Yeah, $128 a month. Yeah. Not bad.
I'd do that.
That's pretty good.
I'd do that. And then he gets his Youngstown contract as well.
For a guy that says he was beamed down from a different planet. That's what he was said in his press conference. I feel like I've been beamed down from a different planet this week.
Because he couldn't relate to what he saw in last week's game. Yeah.
He said a lot in last week's press conference. Let's get to our Dakota Magic and Casino keys to the football game, and we start with number 1, and that is tackle, which actually has been an issue for North Dakota State. And if Youngstown State has a stud, it's him right there. Tevin McCaster, 117 yards, 8 touchdowns. Chris Kleiman called him a stud who is a load to bring down.
And boy, they ride this guy a lot. He had 36 carries 2 weeks ago, again, a victory over South Dakota. And you think of all the backs that have come through Youngstown over the years, the Jody Webbs, the Martin Ruizes. This guy is right up there with some of the greats they've had. And the Youngstown is going to have to find a way to get this guy established for them to have any chance today.
To me, though, guys, he's just real quick, he looks like he's slowing down a little bit. He's been beat up a lot this year already.
Number 2 on our keys to the football game, brought to you by Dakota Magic and Casino, is simply turn him over. There's the starting quarterback, Montgomery Van Gorder, 7 interceptions. Now, we don't know if he's going to play or not today, but the bottom line may be more important. The Bison plus 13 and a whole lot of points.
Oh, yeah, that's one of the reasons NDSU has won like they have. You take advantage of that, you make a mistake, and the Bison make you pay. And, you know, there's some defensive things that NDSU has to work out this week, and to be honest, I think we may see the other guy as much or more than we see him today.
You know the other part of that too, Ryan, that graphic didn't show? Youngstown State has put the ball on the ground 17 times as a team. That is a lot of fumbles for one season through 8 games.
We may see all 3 quarterbacks today. I hope you've got your play card ready, Brian. Number 3, and maybe more of an excuse just to put this stat on the board, but look at that. The Bison in the red zone, 32 scores and 35 chances. Their opponents just 7 scores in only 14 chances. That defense is good.
I still can't fathom that a team has only scored 5 red zone touchdowns on North Dakota State now through 8 games. When you think of some of the offenses the Bison have seen, and I think the only game that you'd say really the big play was an issue was against Northern Iowa. I think when UNI was able to get 31 points. But if you don't get the big play on the NDSU defense, the odds of you driving the field and getting a score in the red zone are almost next to nothing. So you better take shots when you got them.
Coaches don't pay attention to stats. As fans and as broadcasters, we do. Coaches don't. I asked Coach Klanderman that very question this week. I said, how many times do you think the opponent's been inside the 20 on you? And he's like, oh boy, 20? And I go, no, it's been 14. He's like, wow, that's really good. You're right, Joe. It's really good.
Bison coaches did not know that Easton Stick set the all-time passing touchdown record last week for North Dakota State. And when we come back, the all-time touchdown leader at North Dakota State will join us. Brock Jensen, a very special interview with him. That is coming up next from the Fargo Dome as we get ready for Youngstown State and North Dakota State. We are 22 minutes away from football as North Dakota State takes on Youngstown State today. And this week's Herdline News, Easton Stick is rewriting the Bison record book. Last week, the 5th-year senior from Omaha set the all-time NDSU mark for passing touchdowns, throwing his 73rd career touchdown pass, passing legendary Bison quarterback Brock Jensen, who had 72 career passing touchdowns. There's a look at how Easton did it. With one more touchdown passing, rushing, or even receiving, Stick will tie Jensen at that 107 mark. You see Brock on the right side of your screen, Easton on the left, just one touchdown behind now in total touchdowns. When Brock Jensen left the program in 2013, he held 8 meaningful records in the NDSU record book and was regarded as one of the best, if not the best ever. And who would forget that drive and that play? It still goes down in North Dakota State history. Jensen, one of the best at quarterback. at North Dakota State and in history. And look at this guy. Brock Jensen joins us on the set. Welcome back.
Yeah, hey, thank you so much. Thanks for having me. It feels great to be back. Fargo will always be home, so.
You said when we chatted just before this, records were meant to be broken.
Yep.
It's not a sad thing for you that you set the bar high, but here comes Easton Stick.
Absolutely, just like you said. You know what? Records are meant to be broken. You hope that someday, you know, someone breaks Easton records, right? And so on and so forth. And that's what keeps this tradition alive and healthy and well. And, you know, that's what every Bison fan and what every ex-Bison player is ultimately rooting for.
You've been able to watch Easton Stick from afar through the television screen, seen him in person. What is it about him that makes him so special?
He just is a smart kid who understands his role, and he's going to do it to the best of his ability. He's always going to give great effort. He's smart with the football, and you know, he uses his legs when he needs to, and makes a lot of plays. He's a playmaker. You know, he's a great game manager. And, you know, the coaches trust him. So, yeah.
He reminds me a lot like you, a really good guy on the field, but off the field that a lot of people at home don't get to see. I mean, this guy, a lot like you, great in the community, always giving back, and that says something as well.
I think that's what it's all about. At the end of the day, football is just a game. And, you know, whether it lasts through college or if you get an opportunity in the pros, what people are going to remember is, you know, how you treat them and how you make them feel. And, you know, I think that's so important. And I think it goes to show you this, the kind of kids that NDSU recruits, you know, the kind of young men that they bring into the program. And, you know, the guys that aren't, you know, that way are going to get kind of weeded out. And, you know, I think it speaks volumes of where NDSU's at. And, you know, great credit to Easton and a lot of other guys who do a lot of great things and are great in the community and interact with fans. And that's, you know, that's what it's all about.
You had 107 career touchdowns that you accounted for at NDSU. His next touchdown, Easton Stick, will tie that record. Do you have a favorite when you look back? Is it the one we saw coming in here?
Good question. You know what? If I had to say a favorite, it's maybe the wins record. You know, one's a little bit closer to my heart, but you know, that one was a fun one. But you know, at the end of the day, you just take it game by game. And you know, like I said, you know, when you play a long time like Easton has, you know, 3+ year starter, almost 4-year starter. And you know, at the end of the day, you'll probably have some records, and you just hope to win games and win championships. That's what it's all about.
Catch us up in our final minute. You're living in Minneapolis or just outside of Minneapolis. You've got a big boy job outside of football. What's life been doing for you lately?
Oh, life is great. You know what? Hung up the cleats. Happily retired from the game. Very blessed to have a great journey in football, and forever will be grateful for my time here and what NDSU's done for me. And yeah, I'm living in Lino Lakes now, settled down, living with my wife Kayla, where she's from in Lino, and working as a financial advisor with Edward Jones now. So life is good, Ryan. Yep.
We appreciate the time. We appreciate the honesty. It's got to be tough because a record more than likely is going to get broken today, but you'll be here to see it. And that's cool as well.
Absolutely. And if it's a guy like Easton, I'm loving it. So at the end of the day, it's go Bison.
Well said. To be fair, Brock Jensen still holds comfortable leads in records for pass completions at 703 and passing yards at nearly 8,600. Really appreciate your time today.
Thanks, Ryan.
I had a chance to catch up with Coach Chris Kleiman, and we talked a little bit about the quarterback he has playing for him right now. Chris, Easton Stick is one of 13 finalists for the Campbell Award, which really highlights how well he has played once again this year.
Yeah, and it's a great honor for him, great honor for our program, and well-deserved. It combines community service, academics, and how good a football player he is just kind of icing on the cake, and received an honor of being one of the finalists for that. And I know he was really excited about that, but excited about the task at hand today.
Your offense has been, I don't want to call it unique, but it has changed a little bit in the fact it used to be run the football, but with Easton Stick, the receivers you have, you're able to mix in that throw. You really are balanced.
Yeah, we were trying to be, and credit Coach Mess and the offensive staff for putting this, maybe spread us out a little bit more, utilize Easton in the shotgun a little bit more, his ability to run the football. We still want to run the football. It doesn't matter how you run it, you just need to be able to run the ball, and whether we're under center or whether we're in an unbalanced set in the shotgun, shotgun, inside run, outside run. We have to find ways to be able to crack this really good defense.
Youngstown State does have a good defense. They're also really physical, and I'm sure that part of the game worries you a little bit.
Absolutely. It's been the most physical game we've played the last 3 years that we've played these guys, once at home and twice at their place, and have been potentially really one-score games. Last year was an overtime game, and our guys know the battle, and we have to win the line of scrimmage. It's going to be tough to do. I think their scheme matches up with us offensively as well as anybody does, and then we've got to do a tremendous job on defense of trying to get the ball back for our offense.
All of your goals continue to be in front of you. Really helps to be at home today.
Yeah, it really does. You know, we've had a couple of road trips, and month of October was difficult traveling, but excited to be at home. Doesn't guarantee anything other than the opportunity to play in front of the best fans in college football.
All right, thank you so much, Chris.
Appreciate it. Thanks.
We are 15 minutes to kickoff here at the Fargo Dome. We go back to our Fargo studios when we come back.
All right, welcome back to another segment of our Bison Tailgate Trivia, and I've got a fun bunch here that is organized and ready to go. Yeah, and I've got two contestants here, and we are going to start out with you. Your name, please.
Kate Burkhardt.
Kate Burkhardt, where are you from?
I am from Fargo, North Dakota.
Okay, North Dakota.
North Dakota.
I heard that. Okay, here we go. Ready to play for one of two $50 gift cards?
Yes.
All right, here we go. Here's the question. Today's game marks the 45th time that NDSU, the team and fans, will celebrate excellence in agriculture, education, and athletics. Are you with me so far?
Yes.
What is the name of the game? Is it the Harvest Bowl or the Don't Forget to Vote on Tuesday Bowl? You need some help?
Harvest Bowl.
I would say the Harvest Bowl.
The Harvest Bowl. See, we do a little public service with this trivia deal too, so it is the Harvest Bowl. Congratulations. Yes, you win a $50 gift card to the Lucky's 13 pub. That was easy.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. See, now, pretty impressive. And your name is?
Charlotte Anderson.
Charlotte Anderson. You want an easy question?
I sure do.
All right, here we go. I'm going to try. 1 week after wearing yellow helmets, white jerseys, and yellow pants for the first time since 2004, NDSU will break out the green Harvest helmet with new jerseys. What will the jersey colors be? Will they be yellow or green? Let's do this again. They will break out the Harvest green helmets, and they're going to have new jersey colors, and that will be yellow or green?
Yellow.
Yellow. Is she right? You don't think so? What? Oh, Nick, you don't think so? She is right. It is yellow.
Good. Oh. Thanks for the tip.
Yes, very good. And for that, you will win yourself a gift card to True Blue Social Club.
Oh, cool.
Oh. And what's your puppy's name?
This is Duke.
This is Duke.
It's my son's family dog.
Very nice dog.
Isn't Duke sweet?
Well, let's see if we can wake Duke up with a little Bison cheer, okay? How about it? Let's go. Bison cheer. There it is. Wide awake. We'll take it back to the studio.
We have to focus up after seeing that puppy.
So cute.
All right, let's get back on track. We're going to tell it from puppies to cats. The Bobcat, a Bobcat. Our Bobcat heavy lifting player, Josh Hayes. That was a terrible segue, but this is what we're going to do.
I'm not listening to you. I'm thinking of Duke.
Josh Hayes is going to be in for Jalen Allison, who is out with that injury that he suffered last week against South Dakota. Next man up, and then we say shut down the pass game from whatever quarterback that Youngstown State is throwing out there today. Josh Hayes needs to have himself a big game.
Yeah, and he's going to be fine. I mean, listen, Josh Hayes stepped up and had to rise to the occasion, be the next man up on the biggest stage possible last year in the national championship game. We've seen success from him. He's had success this season already, had a big game against Western Illinois, another big game against UNI already this year. So I'm confident in this, but the pressure is on him. He's filling in some big shoes.
Yes, he definitely has to fill in some big shoes for Jalen Allison. All right, we're going to step aside. We come back. We'll get our final thoughts from the guys out at the Dome. Plus, we'll get you wrapped up and send you out to the Dome for the game. 4 minutes and 20 seconds left on our Coors Light countdown clock. The Farmers Union Insurance Bison Football pregame show rolls on.
This is the Farmers Union Insurance Bison Football Pregame Show.
1 minute and 39 seconds on our Coors Light countdown clock. Let's go out to the Dome and get the final thoughts of our guys before they're North Dakota State and Youngstown State.
I think my final thoughts going into this game, LT, is to see which Youngstown State team comes on the field today. The one that came off to a fast start against South Dakota at home 2 weeks ago, or the one that did not look very interested in playing a football game last week against Indiana State. Bo Pelini called out his team this week publicly. We'll see how they respond here today.
Well, and my final thoughts go to the running game from Youngstown. See if the Penguins can respond on the ground, but they really rely a lot on McCaster to carry a bunch. He's carried over 50% of all snaps for the Penguins so far this year. That's a ton. He appears to me like he's slowing down a little bit, but that could be one of the reasons we may see Nathan Mays at quarterback a little bit more. He had some success on the ground against the Bison in the past.
For me, guys, it's not about North Dakota State. It is about Youngstown State. The Penguins were challenged a week ago after their last game. It was not good. They were challenged by their head coach, and I want to see how YSU responds. Do they come out and play hard for their head coach, or do they just give up and quit? That's what I want to see.
That giving up and quitting thing is a very real possibility, but I will say this. YSU, underneath Bo Pelini's leadership, is 6-0 in November. They are undefeated in the month of November, and it's November.
In the last 2 seasons, November football, that's what our producer Cameron would tell us. It's November. Anything can happen. November. We'll see what happens here today. We'll send you out to the Dome. We hope you'll join us back here at halftime. Enjoy the game.